Hello everybody, it's Non-C News here. Today we've got a lot of breaking updates today. So the first news is coming from the Baltic Sea, where we've gotten huge news. So two Tu-22 M3 long-range bombers of the Russian aerospace forces carried out planned flights over the neutral waters of the Baltic Sea. So these bombers were escorted by jets as the Su-30 SMs and Su-27 aircrafts of the Russian aerospace forces. The flight duration was about 5 hours long, and during this Russian flight, NATO jets actually intercepted the Squadron. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, this seems to be a Eurofighter. I'm pretty sure it's a Eurofighter. It's a NATO Eurofighter, so very interesting. So it seems that it came very close to the Su-30MS. So very interesting news. And that's not the only flights that Russia has done. So Russia actually did another flight in the Norwegian Sea. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, two Tu-95MS strategic bombers carried out plans over the neutral waters of the Norwegian seas. So in this flight, these bombers were escorted by MiG-31 jets and Su-27s, and this flight was about 4 hours long. But this flight doesn't. It seems that no NATO aircrafts actually intercepted the squadrons. The squadron. So very interesting news. So Russia is doing missions around its seas. So very interesting. Now we've got news coming from Moscow, where the Russian defense minister met with general officials from Burkina Faso. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, Russia meets up with generals of the country, the African country. During the talks, the parties discussed about promising areas of cooperation in defense sectors, as well as issues of strengthening security in Central Africa. Burkina Faso also said that it rates Russian instructors highly in comparison with French ones, the head of the African country's Ministry of Defenses told the Russian minister. So very interesting. So he stated that Russian instructors bring us something new. It is about how to conduct combat operations, about the Russian military doctrine. This is an advantage that has enriched us greatly. We've also got news coming from Moscow that Russia presents the Yak 130M. So this is a modernized aircraft for both training and combat missions. So this is a new aircraft. If you can see here in your bottom left corner, the company Yakolev has presented its design for the Yak 130M combat training aircraft with enhanced capabilities at the Army 2024 International Military Technical Forum. It is used for initial training at senior combat schools, but we also use it to train air crews abroad. He also stated that armies such as countries as Algeria, Bangladesh, and Vietnam use it for low-intensity military operations. So very interesting news. So Russia can potentially produce these to other countries around the world. So this plane is not just a training jet, it can also be used in military operations. That's not the only thing that's been presented in the military forum. We've also got news of this new drone, if you can see here, your bottom left corner, called the Desar Drone. This drone, or you could probably even call it a helicopter, can carry up to Fab's 250 gravity bombs. So if you can see here, it's a very big drone that can potentially drop bombs. So this drone is yet to actually conduct training or any tests. So I will keep you updated on that. But so far, this drone hasn't seen any actions and it hasn't undergone any tests. So maybe in the future we'll see this in the battlefields of Ukraine. Who knows? Now we're going to head to Russia's space site in Kazakhstan. So Russia has launched the Soyuz 2.1 rocket, which is actually one of my favorite space rockets. But this Soyuz was carrying the MS-28 cargo. So this rocket is heading to the International Space Station. The next news is coming from the Kursk front. So I don't normally report on ground news on Ukraine, but today's a little bit different because Russia has announced that it has destroyed a Challenger 2 British tank. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, Russia is claiming this as the British Challenger 2 tank. So apparently this was destroyed, and it was destroyed by a Lancet strike, I believe. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, this is what a Challenger 2 tank looks like. So you can clearly see the resemblance of the picture above the Challenger 2 picture. So I'll keep you updated on that. So this is, I'm pretty sure this is the second tank, the Challenger tank that's been destroyed in Ukraine, if this is true. Now we're going to go to Ukrainian updates. So Zelensky has asked the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian army, Sursky, to find more people for the offensive on Kursk. He stated that, "I understand that it's not easy, but maybe we can somehow strengthen our troops in these areas," Zelensky stated. That's not the only news coming from Kiev. So the US Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, had a telephone conversation with the Ukrainian Defense Minister, Rustem Umerov, during which they discussed the situation on the battlefield. Austin, the American defense minister, stated that the United States remains committed to helping Ukraine defend against Russian aggression. And that's all the news I've gotten from the telephone conversation between the two defense ministers. We've got news coming from the Finnish president. So the Finnish president, Alexander Stubb, believes that Kiev has a right to defend itself against the Russian Federation by any means, including a military intervention of the Kursk region. So that was stated by the Finnish president. We've also got news coming from Poland that the Prime Minister of India, Modi, might visit Poland before coming to Ukraine, stated the Economic Times. So there has not been an official confirmation yet, but if this trip goes ahead, this will be the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Poland since 1979. So quite a long time ago. So I'll keep you updated on the situation. The next news is coming from Berlin. So this is probably one of the biggest news today. So nearly 2 years after the Nord Stream pipeline sabotage, German authorities have reportedly issued an arrest warrant on the suspect of a Ukrainian national was named only as Vladimir Z for privacy reasons. So Germany has issued an arrest warrant for the Ukrainian national who has a connection with the Nord Stream bombing. Allegedly, this is the man who did it. This is Vladimir Z. So this is the man who apparently blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. But Germany stated that Germany's support for Ukraine will remain unchanged, no matter what of the results of the investigation into the explosions of the Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 gas pipelines, the German government spokesman stated. So no matter what they find on this guy, Vladimir, if he did blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, it won't change the relations between Ukraine and Germany. So this is very good news for Ukraine. The next news is coming from a NATO base in Germany. So this NATO base in Germany had a lockdown due to suspicion of infiltration and sabotages. So very interesting news. This is the only news I've got from this, but it seems that this NATO base in Germany is undergoing lockdowns due to the suspicion of infiltration and sabotages. Next news is coming from France, where we've got news that 2 French pilots have died after 2 Rafale fighter jets collided in the eastern part of France earlier on Wednesday, Macron has stated. So very sad news, the 2 pilots ended up losing their lives because of this. So very bad news to the families of these pilots, so we wish all the families all the best. Now we're going to be heading to the United Kingdom of Great Britain, Northern Ireland. So the British Ministry of Defence has stated that Ukraine has its permission to use British weapons on Russian soil. So very big news, the British Secretary of Defence or Minister of Defence of Britain has now announced that British Storm Shadow missiles, I'm pretty sure, British weapons can now be used in Russia. So this is probably why we got news of a Challenger tank in the Kursk region. So very interesting news, and I'll keep you updated on that. We're going to go to Africa, where we've got news coming from Senegal. So the Senegal Prime Minister made a visit to Mali. He stated that Senegal will not become a base for destabilizing Mali. So interesting developments, and I'll keep you updated on that. Next news is coming from Benin. So the biggest news coming from Benin is that China has handed over Benin a large batch of military equipment. The Chinese ambassador to Benin stated that it handed over a large batch of military equipment. These weapons are noted as artillery howitzers and their components, and obviously small arm weapons and ammunition. The deliveries is stated that it will significantly enhance the operational capabilities of Benin's armed forces, which are now fighting terrorists and rebels in the north of the country, stated the Chinese ambassador. So here on the border of Niger and Burkina Faso. So here. Next news is coming from Iran. One of the biggest news coming from Iran is that a huge power outages is in action in large parts of Iran. So a lot of people are saying western parts of Iran and even central parts of Iran are ongoing power outages in Iran. Some people are saying these are hackers doing this. So we don't know right now, and I'll keep you updated on that. Next news, which I'm pretty sure I stated yesterday, but I'll state it again. Taliban is holding a huge military parade at the former US base right here. I'll zoom into this. So this is the former US base before the Taliban had captured it. So the Taliban is celebrating the third year of Taliban rule over Afghanistan. And obviously they had a parade on this. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, you can see one of the parades, and obviously the biggest thing is that they pulled out the US weapons that they managed to capture. So if you can see here, a lot of US equipment, a lot of everything. And near the end of the video, you can clearly see that I'm pretty sure these are T-55 Soviet tanks. So these were tanks that were captured in the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. I'm pretty sure. So I don't know how they would get T-55 Russian tanks otherwise, but very interesting news. The next news is coming from North Korea. So, very interesting news coming from North Korea. So, apparently, in 26th of August 2024, so we've got news that Russia has sent 447 goats, so the animal goats, to North Korea. The goats will provide dairy products to local children to relieve North Korea's food shortages. This was a part of the agreement from the Food Summit in June 2024, where Putin and Kim Jong-un met in North Korea, where they agreed to exchange weapons for food. So, very interesting developments. So, Russia has just sent over apparently nearly 500 goats to North Korea in obviously exchange of probably artillery and just munitions. The next news is coming from Japan, where the Japanese Prime Minister is going to resign. So I've actually got no other news on this right now, but the only news that I've gotten right now is that the Japanese Prime Minister is going to resign. The next updates coming today is coming from the US. So Donald Trump stated that Iran is behind the hacking of his campaign. So you can actually see this video for yourselves.
They're looking at it, and they're doing it very professionally, and it looks like it's Iran doing it, because Iran is no friend of mine, and a lot of bad signals get sent, but it looks like it's Iran doing it, and the reason is because I was strong on Iran, and I was protecting people in the Middle East that maybe they aren't so happy about that. So that's what it seems to be, Iran.
Is that what the FBI told you specifically, that it was Iran?
I don't want to say exactly, but it was Iran.
He said that Iran's not happy with Donald Trump, and this is why Iran is hacking Donald Trump's presidential campaign. So, interesting developments, and the last news coming today is obviously Pakistan, the Pakistani Independence Day. So Pakistan is celebrating the Independence Day, and a lot of countries around the world are celebrating this too. So Russia in Moscow put on a lot of Palestinian flags around advertisements and stuff, and even England surprisingly had the Pakistani flag hung up in government areas, even though Pakistan got their independence of Britain. So, very interesting news, and that's all the news I actually have for you today. I am Non-Scene News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.